I'm here with Baden Barber, who is the executive chair of Ngāti Kahungunu Iwi Incorporated. Kia ora, Baden, and thanks for joining me.
Yeah, good, Andrew.
Now, Baden, can you believe it? It's been a year since Cyclone Gabriel hit Hawke's Bay, and I can say our lives changed forever, I would say. What do you remember from that day?
Well, where we live, where you and I both live, we were out of the epicenter, but certainly getting out into the closer to the action. I mean, total devastation, unbelievable amounts of water, and then the months that followed. We just got to appreciate and understand the force of nature that was Gabrielle. That came through and ripped through our community. It's been a year, and it's been a tough year for our region, but we're a pretty tough brand of people here in Te Matawa Maui, Hawke's Bay, and so we'll get through it.
Now, you were out and about, and that. What did you see in terms of the devastation and that? What was the damage? I mean, obviously you went to marae as well, and that, and there was some marae that were extensively damaged. Just tell us a bit. Describe what you saw.
Well, probably the most impacted parts of our rohe were Tāngoio Petane, and what I saw out there was like you were walking on the moon. Everything was flattened. That marae especially was covered in silt and had been water earlier in the morning. I mean, I'd never seen anything like it. I don't think many of us had seen anything like it. The extent of the devastation. I mean, it's synced into my memory forever. Seeing that type of devastation across the region. Yeah. So, unfortunately, a number of our Māori communities, and I went out to all of them. I got up on the first chopper I could get up to Wairoa, shot down to Porangahau on the truck, and that was the only way you could get through. And we had food loaded up on the truck, 4-wheel drive truck I'm talking.
Yeah.
Then Omahu, Waiahiki, and Tāngoio Petane. So, it was just unbelievable. Yeah. Totally unbelievable. And I've lived through a flood, a big flood here at home.
Yeah.
Not too long ago, but that was something next level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because by their very nature, a lot of marae are built next to rivers and that. So, and this was a river flooding rather than an ocean flooding. So marae were badly hit. Just on Tongaia, how's that looking? What's the status there in terms of what's going to happen in the redevelopment and that?
There's still a lot of work to be done in terms of the marae relocation.
Yeah.
Māori land, category 3, how that works. So they've still got a bit of work to be done out at Tāngoio. Hori Reti, the chair, he's been knee deep in cleaning the silt, so he's been part of the cleanup. The good thing about it is a lot of their people have been employed and are learning how to drive diggers and earth movers and all those things. So it's all their own people. A lot of young people that may probably have been unemployed. So they're getting on the job training, so to speak, cleaning up their own whenua, cleaning up their own marae, which is great. But there's still a shortage of housing for a lot of those whānau out there along, and that's the same with all of those marae communities that were hit. We've been working hard to house them in temporary housing, cabins and small 1-2 bedders. We've landed about 80 out of 100. So yeah, it's a big job.
Yeah. Now, the one thing that came out of this cyclone event was the way people responded, and there were volunteers that just came and helped, and they didn't even know people, and they went into their houses,
Mm.
and Marae opened their doors as well. Tell us a bit about what you saw in terms of how the community mobilized, and in particular the Maori community.
Yeah, it was something. The COVID experience kind of helped in terms of this response. So the Tihe Mauri Ora, the iwi welfare hub, we had already made connections within our iwi network and hapu network. But the mobilization of all communities, but especially the Māori communities, was amazing. Being able to pull together communities that weren't impacted and use those marae like Waipatu, Te Aranga as shelters and welfare hubs, and the amount of people that got in to support the cleanup, and it was amazing. And that's the good stories that have come out, and there will be an appreciation day this Sunday for those that lent a hand in terms of the response and the cleanup. But we had iwi from throughout New Zealand contribute towards $1.4 million worth of cash, mainly money and other supplies to support the local marae communities.
Yeah, and now as a regional leader, you've been involved in some of the rebuild and the decision making on that. How has that been going? Because there's a huge cost involved.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely had its challenges. Speed, especially around housing. People have got nowhere to go. They're living in marae. With a family has been living there right up until a couple of weeks ago.
Wow.
From Tamatea to Tamatea. Yeah. So that was the last of the whānau to return to their homes, but it's taken that long, nearly a whole year, for people to be relocated back into their own communities. So yeah, it just shows. Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of money invested through councils into our region, which is great. But not enough money, I don't think. And it wasn't fast enough. The response in terms of getting housing needs sorted, infrastructure sorted, wasn't fast enough. But we are where we are, and there has been good progress. So that's good to see.
And do you think we can get to a stage where we're prepared for if this happens again? And what do we need to do? And particularly with regard to marae and that, in terms of
Mm.
their locations and that, what needs to be done?
Yeah, I think how we plan for these types of events, it needs a right across the region type plan to look at where our communities are located. Yeah, like you say, most marae are right either on rivers or right next to the ocean, because of access to mahinga kai.
Yeah.
It was all about where you could eat, and so we might need to rethink that kind of placement, and not just marae but communities. Yeah, they all seem to be around rivers and whatnot. So that's probably the first thing, some high level planning, but down into practicalities is just making sure that we have things like generators and food stored, because in my experience with emergency services is they don't come for 3 days, and that was the same with Gabriel. 3 days, some of those isolated communities, and so you need to have 3 days worth of gear, food, clothing, you name it.
Yeah.
And every community needs to be self-sustainable. Every household. Um, don't look for anyone to be any cavalry to be over the hill on day.
Yeah. Yeah. Now there are two reviews that are happening into looking into the response and that. What are you hoping comes out of those?
I'm hoping quite a bit comes out of them, otherwise been a waste of time and money. I think the biggest thing is how we plan and how we set up our infrastructure, because we had some major failings in stopping our rivers, our bridges, our comms, our communication, how our power is routed. A lot of our power was routed under bridges, so the bridges went out, the power went out.
Yeah.
So we had, we've just got to have some better thinking around that, and how we future-proof our region for climate change. And those are big kaupapa, and they're going to need careful planning, working together, local government, central government, iwi, Māori, and communities. Communities have heaps of feedback that they can be given, hopefully have given into the review. And I've certainly had a number of interviews through these review panels and given our kōrero. So, yeah, I'm looking for some good, firm recommendations on how we move forward as a region.
Yeah, because there were stories that there were some areas that were lacking in that. And
Totally.
do you think part of it was that it was a national-led thing rather than a local-led thing?
Yep. And there was some of our feedback, civil defence taking it back into Wellington, rather than having it out in our regions. And our Waimarama communities, one of those communities that had been stripped back somewhat. So we need to get the resources and the ability to make decisions closer to the communities. So regional and even sub-regions and even individual communities themselves.
Yeah. Now, what would you say to those people that are still suffering a year on? They've lost their houses, they're going through, jumping through hoops with Category 3 and that. What would you say to them on the anniversary of Cyclone Gabrielle?
Yeah, there's always hope. We need to look forward with hope. We've got a new government that they're talking that they're all about action. And let's put that to the test, because we want to see a bit more action in terms of the recovery and the rebuild. But there's always hope, and just to hang in there. I know it's been a real tough year for many of our community, but we've had a great summer. We've had more sunshine than we've ever had. So that's a good sign for a good 24.
Yeah. Excellent. thank you so much, Baden Barber. Thanks for your time and all the best, and we'll speak to you again sometime.
No worries. Cheers, Andrew.
Thank you.
Kia ora.